Hello, this is Warweasel again. It's been a while since I've had an update, so I thought I would at least update people and let them know that I'm still alive and that I'm still here working on my game. I've been doing a lot of rewriting, and currently where I'm at is what I call Refactor 1, and that is I took my old project and tore out everything and tried to bring them into individual pieces. Here I have my character components, and this is my ALS character. This is a generic ALS character. I haven't changed him at all yet. But this is from the third person demo or third person template, and he is what I'm working on right now. So if I jump here, I can show you that I've added a few bits to him. You may notice that the major changes are, little, what are these? Collision volumes around his hands and feet. And this is for when he gets to do his kung fu moves. On top of that, I've added the interaction component, an inventory component, and a weapon component, along with the physical animation. This isn't mine, this is part of Unreal, and if you don't know about it, it is very, very cool, so please take a look at it. The big deal is the interaction component. What it does is it handles all my interaction stuff. Mostly, it's a database of various interactions and the two objects that interact together and whether or not it uses a left hand or right hand. For each object, every character could have a different animation with it. So this is my solution, and I keep it all in one place. So every character, every NPC could have just a database of these for all the possible interactions they might have, and it's a quick and easy way to modify them and keep them all separate without having to have a global data store and then search through that every time. Just not something that I wanted to do. There are many interactions here, variant events, item picked up, item animation start, and animation end, interaction end, which is actually different because the interaction might end before the animation ends. And I would like the character to be able to walk away if they so desire, so they don't have to do the whole animation. It just makes it feel a lot more responsive. Remove item from hand, draw item in hand, that kind of thing. The major change is actually, let's see if I can find it here, under state. I used to have a ton of state. Right now, animation state and interaction state, I could probably get rid of those. Current object is important because if I'm interacting with something, that is what I'm acting on, and it's good to have a connection to it. Nearby interactors, when you're walking around and you can interact with something, it's added to this, and when you're further away, here, you can actually see the boxes if you look closely. If you're in these volumes, it's added to the list, and it will find the closest one and let you, highlight it for you, and then you interact with the correct one. Deeper under here is the interaction state machine, and it is actually an object. Let me find the references. And yes, when I begin, I set it to a interaction state machine of type not interacting, which makes perfect sense. Now this is a tip I picked up off the internet. I don't have the link in front of me and I don't feel like looking for it. But what I can do is go here to interaction state machine. And what I've done is I've created an interaction state base. It's a generic object, and it only has a few things. There's really nothing in the event graph, and it has 5 functions: interact, end animation, start animation, tick, and end interaction. Excuse me. And the only other thing they all share is the interaction component that they are connected to. So let's jump to non-interacting state. And that's pretty simple. It only cares about interact and end animation. And really, end animation is just an error to let me know something's wrong. You could think of this as an assert. Anyway, the interact function is the only thing that really matters. And all it does is it finds the closest object, and then it sees if it can intersect. Then it picks out the animation pair. Then it constructs the next state and starts that animation, which is the interaction or the pre-interaction state. And then it goes to, it returns that new state. And anywhere you see me use one of these states in the interaction component, I also take the return value and set the interaction state. And I do that in a few places. Let's set interaction state under tick. Tick is only here. I know tick isn't a great thing to use, but I have one instance where I need him to walk to a location, and tick is the only way I can think of without doing some serious coding or replacing the player's controller with an AI controller, etc. So anytime I use it, end animation, I call the end animation event on the state, and it may give me a new state. It may not. It may just return itself if it does nothing or it wants to stay in the state. And this is a nice way for me to create a state machine without having a ton of code all over the place. And this is my major change recently. So when I finally got back working, that's the major change. So here I can show you if it decides to play. Here we go. So I can jump here, remove breakpoint. Let's keep going. There. And since its hands are empty, it works fine. You can pick this up, add it to inventory. Oh, come on, remove breakpoint. Or I can open the door, that's nice. All these same old things, but just much, much simpler than it was before. Here's my little deep beep beep. Yep. And I'm just jumping through the various animation states, or the various states for my character. So that's the big deal, and now that I'm back working on it, I'm trying to fix some other things. Like right here is a good example. Here's a pickup animation. I have an event here that says, item in hand. That's when it draws the item in the hand, and it teleports to the hand. Then I have interaction anim notify, and what is this one? Inventory anim notify, and these are what I'm using to handle events and to sync everything up. All right, well, I know it's not super exciting because I'm not done yet, but this is really a lot of work getting this into a final format. One of the other things I did, and I don't know if a lot of people know about this, but let me jump to browse to asset. Usually, let's just browse to the third person character. Usually, this is just the character class. It's based on the character class. Well, I have a clothed character, and the only thing the clothed character has is the ability to add clothing. So, and really nothing else. It has its clothes and current clothes, and I wanted a base character to to base that off of. Well, I didn't realize that, let's say we go to the third person character again, you can go to edit class settings and you can literally change the parent class. I did not know that. And so that simplified some things for me. I was actually recreating everything and having to running into issues because if you do recreate a base class, then you have to find every place that uses the base class and that was just a huge pain. But this is a really nifty tool that I didn't realize I had. Also, you'll notice I have a WW character interface. That's Warweasel, because I couldn't think of a good name. Uh, you know, it's nice because I can put all of my character specific stuff in here. And no matter what the character is, as long as it has these, these inputs, I can call it from here. Let me see if I can find my WW player controller, which is Warweasel player controller. You know, where is it? Oh, event graph. So here, this way I can keep the same, controller. I can keep the same, the interaction component knows about the character, what it needs to know, the weapon component, the inventory component. All these things have a shared interface to work with. Yeah. And finally, probably not as much fun as everything else, but I've had a Linode virtual machine for a while, and I wasn't doing much with it. And it doesn't normally take this long. Really, I promise. There we go. And so if I jump back up here, I push refactor stage 2 to, my refactor project. So if I go here, I can actually, let's see, repository, I can look at the graph. uh, Payment or for this, but Linode, I really like them. If you check their pricing, it is you can get a a like a really cheap one for $5. I've never tried this one with GitLab. Right now, I'm running the $10 a month, and it works great. I had to increase the swap size. It was the only thing I had to do. I haven't had any real trouble. And on top of that, I also have, let's see, they have block storage, and it's what, 10 cents a gig, and I have like 25 gig, which is just way more than enough for what I'm doing right now. But it lets me keep everything on a remote site. I have backups now. I have all this nice functionality, which was all free. And it was really, really easy to set up because the nice people at GitLab have a very simple install procedure. Linode only runs Linux. You can do Windows, I've heard, but I wouldn't try it just because that's not what they're set up to do. Go with what you know. So anyway, that's part of it. I am also using, let's see if I jump up to my projects. I'm also using it as a place to keep my story and my assets and some of my older projects. So, yeah, this is just a test project. But anyway, that's all I have today. Sorry it's not more exciting. I was hoping to have shooting and everything working. And if I look up here, if I go to refactor, I can look at my milestones. And my milestones are roguelike testing next after my read-write. I have Dungeon Architect, and I just want to create random dungeons and play my game some. No real story or anything. And then I have my other milestones. I'm sure they will all fall behind. They always do. But send me some positivity if you can. I've had a few people join and look up and watch my videos. Thank you. You guys actually give me a huge boost when you do that to let me know that somebody else cares that I'm laboring in secret here. Well, that's all I have today, and hopefully I'll have more to show either later on or soon, maybe later this week. Have a good day.